with TrueDFS, and I am going to go over tonight's 5-game NHL DFS slate. It's a Monday night, so we should feel pretty lucky to have 5 games, because what we've been getting used to in the NHL is like the 2 games on the Mondays and Wednesdays, or the 3 games, and then the huge 12-plus games on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it looks like today we've been blessed with 5 games. Unfortunately, we haven't been blessed with the most robust contests or biggest contests from DraftKings, but we sure have something. So I'm going to do my usual where I play the single entry, and I play. I think it's not a single entry tournament, actually. Let's say it's you get 3 entries, but I play 1 into it. I'm going to play in the 4-4-4 tonight. When it's a little bigger, I tend to play the 2-2-2. I go a little bit more on tonight's slate. I don't know. It's 100-man versus the really small 60-person field with the 2-2-2, and it's only $3K up top. And I don't know. I'm just I guess I'm a homer for the bigger prize pool. So I'm going to go for it tonight. Now, usually what I do in these videos is I start by just going through SaberSim and seeing what we could build and how the lineups look. And then we run different experiments using different sets of projections or different stack types. We go FanDuel, etc. And, I think that's a pretty good exercise, because I think SaberSim's pretty sharp and you get pretty good lineups. But I do think there's something to be said for hand building. Not that I do it, but I used to do it a long time ago. And I think that if you build lineups by hand, or if you're playing DFS at a high level, you should be able to get the intuition for building lineups by hand and getting an idea for how to do that. That just tells you things about construction and how you want to do it. So I'm going to actually just hand build in the video and see what we could come up with using Goldie's stuff. So I am going to use Goldie's projections for tonight's slate and just see what looks good and see what we could build. He's got Sheets equation plugged into his sheet, so we could look for like the top values point per dollar, but we could also look at just the top plays overall if we use his Sheets proprietary metric. And remember, these are projections and metrics you get on top of SaberSim with the packages at TrueDFS.com. So don't forget to check that out, and like and subscribe for more content like this, where we go over how we use it. And it's really a great way to become a better player, not only consuming the content we have on YouTube, but some of the written content that we're starting to do, the premium content that we have in Discord. We're always in the premium voice channel in Discord before lock, so we could chop it up on the kind of slate dynamics, especially with NBA and getting that late news. So I've seen Bobby do that to really, really strong effect. So check that out at TrueDFS.com. Come and join us, like and subscribe. So let's see. I mean, if I look at Goldie's projections, Toronto just obviously stands out. You've got him as the top value scorer in Goldie's projections with Sheets' metric. You've got Matthews. That's not surprising. But then you've got Nylander. You've got Tavares. You've got the goalie Stillars down there and Marner. But it looks tough, right? I mean, even though these guys all look good individually, they're high priced. So if I were to go over, if I wanted line 1, Marner, Matthew, Knees, or line 2, Tavares and Nylander with Pontus Holmberg, these aren't going to be cheap lines. And then there's some question of, do you want the power play? And the power play is nice because you get Matthews, Marner, and Knees all together, and then you get Nylander and Tavares all together. But I'm not sure how that looks salary-wise. So, again, I mean, I go to Goldie's stuff. It looks like Toronto is just the nut play. And it makes sense. They have a 4.2 total. They're way ahead of anyone else on this slate because they're playing San Jose. But what happens, I mean, if I put Matthews in, let's say I just want to play their EV1, with Matthews, Marner, and Nyes. Forget the power play. Stacking these three, and I mean, this is not enough correlation, but you only have 4,300 a man left. So let's just, if we put in like a middling goalie, wow, Sorokin's pretty cheap for a good goalie. I know they're probably significant underdogs. Not really. Sorokin, I mean, I wonder if that makes him pretty chalky though. But let's just for now, say we play a cheap, good goalie. Maybe he's chalky. Leaves you with 3,700 a man. So what else can you do? Well, let's go back and let's see, like, if we just look at Toronto, what else we could get. If we wanted to put Nylander or Tavares, can we do it? Nylander's 8,200. Okay, so now we're almost at min salary. So you could do it. You could play a 4-man Toronto, but then you're just kind of dumpster diving. Maybe you get someone's third line. You know, I don't know. Maybe you get some real cheapos. But like if you just look at the top, when we looked at the top point per dollar guy, it's not even a min price guy. I mean, it's 3,600 for Keandre Miller. You can get Berard, but there's not a lot of min price guys right now. There's just not a lot of value on this slate. So Toronto looks good, but like, what could you do with them? You're going to need a whole lot out of them, and then you're going to have to thread the needle on the rest of your stuff, and that's assuming you didn't even get it correlated. What if, though, instead, I mean, what if we got creative? I think this is how anyone playing Toronto is going to have to do it, is they're going to have to look at some of these D guys instead of these spend ups. And Tavares is 7K. You could do Tavares and have a little bit left. 2,900, man. It's not much better. But what if we wanted, now their power play is all forwards, but you know, Morgan Riley's the D that's going to project the best, I think, but he's not coming up as the best value. Yeah. So Riley is the highest projected D, but McCabe's the best value. So what if we threw in McCabe at 4,100? Now you have a 4-man with a little left. Not great. Ekman Larson's a good offensive D guy. He's pretty priced up. He's the next best. Riley, 5,700. I mean, you can't play even strength 1 or the power play of Toronto and get much with it. So, you know, on one hand, that's bad, right? They're projecting well, but you can't get it all in with the correlation you want. On the other hand, maybe that means they come in lower owned. That was kind of, if you played yesterday, it was a 4-game slate. Carolina was the highest projected team, not as far and away as Toronto is, but they were expensive. And they ended up coming in owned, but not so owned. But let's see, like, you could do, instead of the even strength 1, if you wanted to do line 2, you get Tavares, Nylander, then it's Pontius Holmberg. You know, now you got more money. You could put one of the guys in. You could get knees for the power play correlation. You could do the McCabe thing. I mean, the thing is, they're D guys. It's not like they're priced down. I mean, the third D pairing, the guys that are going to play, if you guys are going to play under 20 minutes, like Timmins, and he's still 3K. Myers, kind of gets up there. And what is he? 3K. Oh, Timmins is 3.3K. So I don't know. I mean, Toronto is going to project really well, but good luck. Good luck trying to do anything else with them. So, and good luck trying to get the 5-man too. That's the other thing. I mean, I prefer the onslaughts. I don't think they're played at nearly a high enough rate, especially in the small field stuff. And that I play. I can't speak as well to the large field, but I think that holds true. I've heard others say it. And you can't really play the onslaughts at Toronto. So what do we do? Let's see if we could do something else. So let's go back to our process. Looks good. I mean, Buffalo Tage shows up. Dahlin and Tuck, they're cheaper than Toronto. And then no Buffaloes. But you get those three guys. And let's see what Buffalo looks like from a correlation standpoint. So you get Tage on line 1, Tuck on line 2, and Dahlin is going to be the power play quarterback. And so then you've got Peterka and Quinn on the power play. Let's see how they're priced. Peterka would correlate with Tage. Quinn's not going to get any correlation on the even strength. So, Buffalo might look good. Let's see what happens if you put in like Tage, Tuck, and Dahlin. And then who are we looking? We're looking for Peterka. I mean, there's not a center on this power play, which is tough. Quinn 4,800. I mean, this isn't cheap. What if we correlate the goalie? I mean, you could get Buffalo's power play in without a problem. Their total's pretty solid. You get 3 of the top projected guys in Sheets value score. It's a game against Montreal. This could be trading chances. Neither team is great defensively. We've seen Buffalo has scored a ton in the past, and they've gotten scored on. So something to think about here. I mean, you could do this. You can't get much else with them, but you can get stuff. You can correlate the goalie, so if they do hold Montreal down, you don't have to. Let's see if you go Sorokin, you're at 38K a man. You could do that Keandre Miller thing as the top point per dollar. Problem is you need 2 centers. The problem is the opportunity cost. You're playing a lot of wings. You could correlate Cousins and get the 6-man. That's kind of nice. Oh, the problem with Miller is we have Sorokin. So we have 300 more to. So let's take out Miller. Sorry. See, like if we wanted to get this Berard value, I mean, he's a value, right? 2.3 points per dollar. Miller's 2.3, but we can't. So there's some opportunity cost here that we have to think about. Lane Hudson's nice. I mean, Lane Hudson is on the power play for Montreal. He could be pretty nice. The problem is he's a little higher than we want to spend. How low could we go at these? Zach Jones. Zach Jones is getting minutes now because Fox is out and New York traded Lindgren. See how many minutes Zach Jones got at D in his last game? 22. I mean, he's not putting up fantasy points, but he's 2,800. He's got the minutes. If you want to onslaught Toronto, let's go back to the Luukkonen. Now we have 3,200 for a center. And we could pick someone. We can't. I mean, Carrick and Parson aren't going to play much, but we can't use them anyway. And we probably don't want to use these Montreal guys against our goalie. But we could upgrade a goalie, right? You could go down to someone like Lewis. It's thin play, but something. Reichel will get a little bit of power play time for the Blackhawks. They're going to have a low total against the Kings, but he could score. Nosek, I don't think Nosek's going to get a ton of minutes. No, not even any. I mean, it gets thin. So I like the Buffalo thing. Maybe you just play the 5-man. Then you could do whatever. What if we go to that Hudson thing? Now we kind of have a game stack. Let's see who the best points per dollar centers are. Back, Montreal. I mean, we got quite the game stack going here. I see no problem with it. Back. We don't want that. We can go back to that Sorokin thing. Then you have 4,300 for a center. You can pick someone. I mean, we don't have to spend all our salary either. You get Domi in a high total as possible. You can't use Dvorak. But you could do stuff. Wember get a little power play time. A little bit. You could do stuff here. So if I were hand building, I'd probably look at Buffalo, especially for the small field stuff. I'm inclined to think that's the way to go. Let's check, see if anyone's talking. But yeah, I mean, that's the way to go. There's probably a lot of ways to skin a cat, as we know. So let's try to do that by doing the normal process that I'm going to do right before lock, and that is to build on SaberSim. So I'm just going to keep SaberSim's projections for now. We do this experiment that I think proves time and again that the Onslaught's grade pretty well. I think they grade pretty well in the post-lock contest sims. I think they do better on average than the 4.3s, and part of that's because of who's playing them and how many people are playing them and how many people aren't. So I'm going to go and just tell it to only build me the Onslaughts. Oh, Andy C in chat, what's up? Good morning to you too. So this is a bit slow, but you can see, like, I'm inclined to not play the 4-mans. I like the Onslaughts. I think they're, again, under-owned, so I'm just going to build with them. And then because I'm playing the high-stakes stuff, I'm going to use that ownership to build and let it go. One thing you could do throughout the day is check some of these news sites, these Twitter accounts. There's Game Day Lines. It's posting stuff throughout the day. Okay, so Dickinson on the Blackhawks. I mean, I don't think that's going to affect you much, but you never know. Spencer Knight in goal for the Blackhawks after trading Seth Jones. You know, the Blackhawks are going to have such a low total tonight, but they are going to be really cheap. Vlasic will slot in on their power play and instead of Jones, and you know, you get him at a low cost. So let's see. SaberSim's still going. We put a lot of constraints on it, right? We said don't even think about those 4-mans. Don't even think about the 3-mans, the 2s. So that makes it a little bit slower of a build than we're used to on SaberSim. I mean, usually you get 5,000 lineups in an instant. It's at our simulation. So for those of you that are new to contest sims, you know, building by hand is great. You build just by projection. You kind of consider ownership and what people are playing. We didn't really do that when we hand built, but I think we can somewhat not disregard ownership, but don't have to think as aggressively about it, given that we are playing in a 100-man. But oh, that's why. I knew something looked wrong. I didn't see the Buffalo guys because I've got only the centers clicked. So like, whoa, Tage 26, Darlene 25. So you're going to get ownership on the good values of Buffalo, but then Quinn coming in at just 14 in the 100-man field, I'm okay with that, and I don't think he's going to be. You know, it's not just that he's owned 14%. It's how often is he owned in conjunction with those other Buffalo guys, because the combination is going to matter too. If there's 7, 8, 9 people with that combination, then maybe the combination's over-owned. But if the combination is not owned enough, then I'm okay with eating ownership on the individual players if I have a unique combination. And I don't think, like I said, not enough people are playing the Onslaught. So there's not going to be a lot of people that are pairing Quinn with it. And Peterka at 18%. So then you start getting into being the, you know, 2, 3 at most person who has these paired with them in the 100-man field. So I think that's pretty important to consider. not just ownership, but combinatorial ownership. You'll see that talked about a lot in DFS and some of the more advanced shows. So we got our lineups almost ready to go. It's the problem we had last time where it's like getting to this end and going a little slower than we want. Let's see. The other thing we could have done is like thrown in one of these D guys, a Bryson or a Clifton even, at min price, 2,500. Then you get the total onslaught with the sixth man. You say, well, those guys don't project well, and maybe not the best values, but the correlation is king in DFS. And what happens when they're correlated so strongly? Well, you bring that $2,500 guy along. He gets, he comes along for an assist on one of these goals, and then you hit what you need with him. So a little frustrating here. This is the second video in a row where our lineups just build really slowly with SaberSim. Last time we redid it, and we might have to do that again. I don't think I want to spend the time on that. Let's just redo this and tell it to build 2,000. It's been a problem lately that we've got to get fixed at SaberSim. So we will go again, and let's just go to 2,000. We didn't even need to let it get that far. We had like 500,000 lineups and see how they grade out. That should be enough to get us onslaughts of enough teams. Let's get to 1,000 here. See if there's any other news. Normally this is a lot faster. We don't put constraints on it. And of course, we don't get that lag at the end. So here we go. Got 1,000 lineups. Let's run a sim. Let's see what our top 10 lineups look like. So, flash forward to 10, 15 minutes before lock. Look at that. A lot of Toronto. That is not what I would have expected. Toronto, Montreal, a lot of variation. You could kind of play anyone. A couple Florida 6-mans, 3 Toronto 5-mans, Montreal's, Buffalo, another Florida. So, our highest owned stack is Florida, but it's only 30%. 30% Toronto. Boy. That makes it a tough slate, right? When you could do anything and you don't know what anyone else is going to do and what the field's going to do, that's tough. That's really tough. Let's see how they did Toronto. Let's take a look at what these Toronto 5-mans look like. There's the back. There's Cooley. I remember he was showing up well. You get the 2D guys. We talked about that. They have Benoit. Okay. Was Benoit in for Toronto? Yeah, there he is. So you get the min price D, Riley Marner, Tavares, and you just Matthews. So who you miss? You're missing Nylander. And then you get the low own, not the low own. You do get the lowish owned high upside Toronto stack with the highest total. And then you got to hope your one-offs hit. Here it's a little different. Here you get a Matthews fade. You play Toronto, no Matthews. And then you get that Sorokin correlated with the Isles. That's pretty cool. You're not going dumpster diving either because you didn't spend up for Matthews. So it's another way to do Toronto that we didn't really think about. That's why we use SaberSim. Some Florida love, kind of similar type lineup with the correlating the goalie and the 2 kind of middling guys with some power play and even strength correlation. Here you get the Matthews, and you throw in Vlasic, so you get the D guy in the flex. So that's how we can play Toronto, and let's see what the ROIs look like. I mean, these ROIs, not great. Yeah, they're showing up great, but it's not a high ROI. Sort this. Yeah, okay. Now we should get it right. Montreal. If we sort just by ROI, it says jam Montreal. One thing I found, when SaberSim says jam a team, sometimes that means you're not going to be the only one jamming that team. And that ownership they project could come out a lot higher. It's not always the case, but it is sometimes. So if we sort by ROI, we just get a whole lot of Montreal. Finally, a Florida. The Florida 2-man. Or sorry, 6-man. 2 Florida 6-mans. Let's see how far we have to go down to get anyone else. Florida. Top 60 lineups. Montreal, Florida. There's some Rangers, some San Jose. So it takes a while. God, what can you do with San Jose? Tied for the lowest total. But you get Panarin, Trocheck, Radish with them. Get the correlated goalie. Maybe they beat Toronto tonight. Biggest underdog, but that happens. What does it happen? Probably 30% of the time. So, if I were playing, I'd be inclined to go with a Montreal or Florida. I don't think you need to go this low in ROI. I might say, I'm a little nervous that Montreal would get too high owned if this slate was going on today, and if it was going off right now. And so I would be inclined to say, hey, maybe Florida's the pivot I need to look at that's going to get a little bit lower owned than SaberSim's expecting. And I would go for one of those onslaughts of Florida if it were right. Now things are going to change up to lock. I see you got a note here from Travis. We're going to let you know you're awesome, man, too. Second in the hip check, a few weeks with you over. Hey, Travis, that's awesome. That's really great to hear. I appreciate it. To know that these are making a difference means a lot to me. So thanks for putting that in chat. And with that too, I'm going to get out of here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out TrueDFS.com. There's going to be a lot more great content pretty much for every DFS sport. Who else is doing DFS tennis besides Sheets, or DFS esports besides Sheets, right? So you got content in Discord on that. And then every now and then you'll even get video contents if you subscribe to our channel. So check that out. Come and join us. There's a lot to learn and a lot of money to be made. And good luck on tonight's slate.